Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of 5 Questions with the Paulist Fathers. And today, this is a special treat because it's the 25th show. And not only is it the 25th show, but it is Father Ron Franco's 25th anniversary of his ordination. So we thought we would have him on all the way from Knoxville, Tennessee. Father Ron, long time. Welcome.
Nice to see you, Mike. Thank you. Great to see you again.
Yeah, so let's get right into it. Question 1, 25 years. What did you think being a priest would be like 25 years ago, and has it been like that?
Well, as you know, I'd been around several years. I'd been in religious life for a good number of years before I was ordained. So I'd been around. I had some sense of what I was getting into. It wasn't like a total shock. But it's always different. You know, I mean, I knew a lot about liturgy. I'd emceed a lot of ceremonies. But when you celebrate Mass yourself, it's a totally different experience. You know, and the unpredictability of it all. I mean, you know, you expect certain things are going to happen, but in priestly life, there's always something new coming up, especially in a parish.
Right.
I remember the first day, my very first day as pastor here in Knoxville. I went to my office. I closed the door, I sat down at my desk, and I looked around, and I said, now what am I supposed to do? I was completely clueless. What am I going to do now? Well, you don't have to wait very long. I mean, you know, things come up. People need things. Something needs to be done. In my case, a ceiling needed to be replaced. I mean, there's always something. There's always something. So, I mean, one of the things about past priestly life, especially in parish life, which is both its burden, but it's a great attraction, and is that it's unpredictable. You're constantly dealing with new situations or and different needs that people come up with. That it's as I say, it's unpredictable. I wouldn't trade it for anything else. It's been a great 25 years, and all 3 parishes that I've worked in have been wonderful places, and they've all been surprises. None of them are what I would have expected the day I got there.
Nice. Speaking of things that are unpredictable, question 2. Mm-hmm. The South has been hit pretty hard by the virus these days. And so in this pandemic, what's the emotional state like in Knoxville right now?
Well, you know, we've been relatively fortunate here. I think Knox County has about 100 COVID deaths.
Oh, wow.
Which is relatively low compared to many other places. So in that sense, we have been blessed, if you want, if we can use that word to describe it that way. On the other hand, you know, that doesn't mean that we haven't been struck in so many other ways. I mean, people are very frustrated, I think, stressed beyond measure. There's also a lot of carelessness and risky behavior. I mean, if I were to go out the stairs outside the building right now, I would pass people without masks on, almost certainly. So that adds to the stress. When you know that every time you go outside, you're going to pass someone who's, you know.
Right.
On the other hand, in church, people have been very well behaved. Since we reopened in the end of May, you know, we've had very strict rules about distancing, where people can sit, wearing masks are required at all times, all that kind of thing. We had to adjust our schedule to allow for sanitizing between masses. We have very strict rules that we're following, and people have been very, very good about observing them. So there's a spirit of cooperation, despite all the craziness that's going on around us in the country. If you were just look at the news, you would think that this has been the totally craziest time in history, and it is in some ways. But people have been very, very cooperative, and I've been very, very encouraged by it, by the way people have behaved at church. People have, you know, contributions increased when the pandemic began. You know, so I mean, there's a sense in which people have been very helpful and have sort of worked together to get through this.
Cool. Question 3. You were the associate pastor at St. Paul the Apostle in New York when I was a parishioner there, and one of the things
I remember you well.
And one of the things that I really miss is going to brunch with you on Sunday. We'd often catch brunch together at the Flame. Mm-hmm. And so during the pandemic, what's been your favorite go-to comfort food?
Well, of course, that's one thing I haven't been able to do is go out to eat. You know, I have not been to a restaurant since, I can know exactly, March 7th was the last time.
Wow.
In fact, I haven't been pretty much anywhere. I think the longest trip I've taken is the 11-mile drive to my dentist.
Wow.
So, you know, And so no movies. I miss movies. No Starbucks. None of those things. Not very exciting things. And of course, none of the social interaction. Even though we have mass every Sunday, there's no gathering afterwards. There's no talking to people afterwards because everybody leaves as you're supposed to. However, I do a lot of cooking for myself. And one thing that I really like, it's not the most creative dish because it's frozen. It's very easy. I just microwave it. It's macaroni and cheese with no gluten and no dairy. I have no idea what's in it, but it's absolutely delicious.
That's great. And so then question 4, the future of the church post-pandemic, in decline or better than ever?
Oh, that's a serious one. The honest answer is nobody knows.
Right.
Okay. Nobody knows how this is going to play out. No one knows how long it's going to last, what's going to happen when it's over. That said, we're at about 40% attendance compared to last year. All right. So that's pretty good when you consider that we can't really accommodate too many more than that anyway with social distancing and so forth. And we've done a lot to accommodate people. I mean, we have a downstairs where the mass is shown on the screen, and the deacon comes down and brings some communion so we can spread people out. So the people that are coming clearly appreciate it. Now, the people who aren't coming, will they come back someday? We know that some of them are watching it on Facebook. Some of them are watching the live streaming of the mass. That's a good thing.
Yep.
Will that be sufficient and they'll lose the desire to come back? I was talking to someone recently who was being very polite. So she didn't quite say it in so many words, but what she was saying was, I haven't been to mass since March. I don't really miss it. So we don't know how it's going to go. And, the other part of the story is, again, there are a lot of theories about what's been going on in this country, but I think there's a general consensus. There was some sense of decline even before the pandemic. Numbers were down pretty much. Mass attendance, baptisms, weddings especially were down. Funerals even are down because fewer people are bothering to have church funerals. So there is a sense in which things were already precarious even before this. Now, will this just speed the process along and further decline? Or will this cause people to think twice about church and maybe reevaluate it? Certainly we can hope so, but we don't know. All we can do really is keep doing what we're doing, working hard, be as faithful and as hopeful as we can be, and do the best we can, and hope that God is leading us somewhere better.
And our final question for today, question 5. I know family is really important to you, and one of your best stories is how your Aunt Josephine got her name. So could you tell us that story?
Okay, well, my late Aunt Josephine, who was my godmother also, by the way. My grandparents from Sicily, and my grandmother had, I believe, a total of 10 children.
Oh, wow.
Which would not have been that uncommon at that time. Talk about the beginning of the 20th century. And several of them didn't make it all the way, as, again, was not uncommon. It was not uncommon for children to die in the first year or so of life. It just so happened that she had a couple of boys in a row, each of whom had Giuseppe, as one of his names, and each of whom died. And my grandmother was very upset about this. She was very unhappy. And so she said she just wasn't going to name her next child at all. And so whatever day the child was born on, that would determine the name. And so her next child was born on March 19th, my Aunt Josephine. And that's the story.
Yeah. And she had a great devotion to St. Joseph after that.
And she became she kind of took it as a little correction there, I guess. And she was very devoted to St. Joseph for the rest of her life. And for the rest of her life, she lit a candle to St. Joseph every day.
That's great. So Father Ron, congratulations on 25 years.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's been a great journey, and I'm glad that I've been a small part of that in New York. And yeah, keep things going in Knoxville.
Yes. So it's been great. These 10 years in Knoxville have been wonderful, and I'm grateful to all the people in all 3 parishes where I've been that have enriched and blessed my time as a priest.
As you have for us. So once again, this is 5 Questions with the Paulist Fathers. I'm Mike Hayes. He's Father Ron Franco. 25 years of priesthood for him. Pray for him as he prays for you. And we'll see you all again soon.
Bye now. Thank you.